Welcome back, Jenny.
I'm very happy to be here again. I'm waiting for this moment about 10 months.
10 months.
I am counting.
Hey, you can come back anytime you want. You don't have to wait 10 months.
No, I made an appointment with Howie.
Okay. The first episode we did with you was very well received. That was a great episode.
Yeah, 很多人喜欢的。
Yeah.
谢谢。
最近在干嘛呢？
最近真的很忙哎。
做什么？
Think about my life. Okay, I just start to open my own channel about cooking Chinese food, and also just do the gym business.
Stupid gym business.
Still.
还是很烦恼吗？
对啊，真的很多事情。
什么事情呢？
就经常有很多问题啊。
像比如说，对你最烦恼的问题是什么呢？开一个 gym。
我觉得最烦恼的问题就是你不能让每个人都开心，就是你不能做到让每个人都开心。
那这个是做任何事都是有这个问题。
Yeah, I know. 对。
Life lesson number 1.
That's true. So that's why I start something new, and I also just because 2 days ago was my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! You didn't even invite us.
Because you guys are busy.
Oh, shut up.
You guys are busy. No, but this is true.
Happy
I
birthday.
think
This is
it's
true.
because
That's
my
why...
birthday actually pretty boring. It's just a dinner. I think you guys will get bored, but it's good because I know I'm going to be here very soon, so that's why.
Okay, sure. Nice save. Nice save.
You'll come on the
It's
show
a
to
boring
promote. You'll come on the show to promote your channel, but we don't get to go to your birthday. Okay, I get it. I get it for me.
We'll see how it is.
I get it for me, but these two.
Let's just grill her this entire.
Okay, so February
episode.
26th.
Next year.
February 26th.
Yes.
双鱼座.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
双鱼座.
哦，是双鱼座吗？
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you do for Valentine's Day this year?
I didn't do anything.
Of course.
Okay. Because.
7. No, I listened to the episode, so I wasn't.
Oh yeah, hold on.
You're in a relationship now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I am.
Last time you were on our show, you were single.
I was single.
Now you're in a relationship.
Yes.
And you didn't do anything for Valentine's Day?
No, because
How dare he?
No, because he has this restaurant business, so he have to be there when the holidays. But I was there, give him a company.
Okay.
But we celebrate the next day. So I did, but it's not the.
He has a restaurant.
So the restaurant comes first before you.
Yeah, I mean, which I 100% support.
What kind of
Okay,
restaurant?
good.
Italian.
Oh, okay. Surprise, surprise.
Chato.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wait, are you guys still doing that channel together?
Eventually, not just me. I think he do the channel with me because he want get me.
Oh, so now that he's in a relationship with you,
Yeah.
you guys were hosting this channel before, right?
Yes, we were like a kind of business partner, and we just worked together.
What was it called again? Jenny and G?
Yes.
And it was a cooking show.
Yes.
And then you think he did this channel just to get you into a relationship with him?
I think 90%.
I give it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Props to him.
But I tell him that thank you for doing this. I mean, if I'm the girl like me, I need this.
Hey, I give that a lot of props because that's being proactive and creative, right?
Yeah.
Well, look at the optics of this, right? I think I saw a couple of he's a handsome guy, by the way, right?
Not my type. I told him. Oh, you guys surprised, right? Because he wasn't my type, and I didn't know
That's how it
what I
always
want.
happens. Yeah, it's the mianzi thing. It's like no Chinese girl will ever admit that where their type is. Like, oh, 看了就不讨厌. That's it, right?
Yeah, they always say that.
But let's look at the optics of this. So, like, handsome Italian guy, pretty Chinese girl, do a cooking show. Like, I mean, it's obvious what the guy's head's at. Like, it's so obvious. Like, it's like if you were Italian and you had a pretty girl and you were trying to do a show together, unless you didn't like girls, pretty much the MO, especially for,
Well, okay. First of all, I just want to ask you a question. Well, not just you, Eric, but also Jenny here. So basically, what Eric just said, I think
I'm being an
a lot of
asshole,
I
it's
think
good. I like it.
I think what Eric just said is, at least to us guys, is pretty obvious. But to a lot of girls, I feel like they always ask these questions like, how could that be? No way. It's purely for business or whatever for your situation.
They're like very naive about
very
it.
naive about it. But then we're like, are you kidding me? It's obvious.
Yeah.
But do you think they're pretending to be naive, like 装傻?
I don't know. I think I wasn't no, but lately I found out because okay, so 1 year ago I received some flowers before I do this show with him, and I barely know him, and some secret guy sent me flowers with a card, and I didn't know who. And then after I be with him, and he told me it was him.
Oh, so you had a secret admirer before.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, right?
Okay.
That's a big plan.
That's a little borderline
Big
stalkerish,
plan, it's a
maybe.
bigger plan.
But the thing is, like, every Italian chef or guy in China right now is like, fuck you on a streak. You fucking
Giving
fucking
away all
up
the
my
secrets.
grades. Like, it's like, fuck
away all the
you,
secrets.
Justin, I hate you. Fuck you and fuck you, Eric.
No, but actually,
Whoa there, Eric.
nah.
Whoa.
Did that just happen?
He's always the one about like, let's not generalize, let's not do it, being very PC. And then sometimes he just breaks through. I like that. I like that.
I love Italian people. I have a lot of good Italian
Yeah?
friends.
Good.
Yes. But they
it's
all
fine,
like
it's fine,
Chinese
it's fine.
girls.
Yeah, it's true.
Wait, so you guys don't do the show anymore?
We don't, but actually it's because we both busy now. But actually, I was half joking.
Busy with each
okay?
other.
And no, we live together.
Oh,
come
is this
on.
where we're going?
And then just how to say? I think of course it wasn't 100% like he just wanna get me and we have a show. It's also because he think I'm a professional woman. You know what I mean?
Well, you
And
are.
I do.
You are.
Yeah, so I was very happy to do that. But now I gotta continue to do the Chinese food by myself. But I'd love to do this with him again.
Is he by the way, is he a good chef?
For me, it is. He is.
Of
It
course.
is.
I'm sure
He
he's
is.
a great chef.
Because I remember I watched a couple of segments. He's from Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
So-
the name of his restaurant
Pochilino.
here in Shanghai?
Oh, that's
You
I
know
know
it.
it's near your house.
Oh.
You know?
Have you
Yeah, I've eaten there before. Of course.
Is it good?
It's across the street from my house.
Is it good?
Oh.
It's not bad.
Okay.
When you been there? When last time you been there?
几个月前吧.
Okay. Now the food is way better.
We should have dinner there sometime.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta check it out. I've never had it before.
Well, Anne went there and she liked the food.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so while you're telling me all this, I'm thinking, because I'm trying to put myself in his shoes, right? And I'm thinking, okay, if I was single, and I'm trying to like woo a girl, and I kind of went through all these like kind of elaborate like things to kind of set it up, right, and like kind of increase my chances of spending time with her, especially given today's culture. Right? Or at least in the Western culture right now, I would be a little bit worried about like, okay, how is she going to take it? Because from my angle, I'm doing all this. I think it's really romantic. I think it's romantic that I would go through the lengths of trying to set up a like a video channel, a TV show, just to woo a girl and spend time with her, send her, be a secret admirer, send her flowers.
It's romantic.
I think it's romantic, right? But you never know how the girl is going to take it. And different girls are going to take it different ways. And some girls might kind of be like, oh, creep,
Yeah.
So you never know with that kind of stuff. It's a gamble.
True.
Any
True.
thoughts about that?
It's really depends because I think there's also some guys try to do the same. But I was really aggressive because if you're not interested in this guy, you will be like, yes, like, are you perv or something? I mean,
That's the key, right?
That's the
Yeah.
point.
And I haven't to say, okay, how we guys be together is I go to him in the end. Silence.
Okay,
so
what does that mean?
So he did the whole thing.
Yes.
Like
and
he set up the show or you did but he did not show any of
yes,
the
never.
he never made the first move. So he kind of played it low key.
Super
But
low.
in many-
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he wasn't
understand.
creepy. So he didn't show any
Yes.
of those
Oh,
signs.
so he wasn't
because
super obvious about it, right? Like he's still like
only he was respectful.
okay.
But I can feel he loved me so much. I can feel. So that's why I was like, okay, I was just. But there's one day the things just changed. The situation is totally changed. I was just. I was start to like I have to see him. If I don't see him, my body is burning. You know what I mean? It's my first time in my life it happened to me like this.
Body's burning with passion.
And the things that I really have to talk to him. You know, you guys know I'm always alone. Like I love to enjoy my time. You know, just to be alone by myself all the time for so many years. But this time is just different. And I have to see him. I have to talk to him like every day.
Now you're the psycho. No, I'm kidding.
Now you're the creep. You're the creep. So how did you? Okay, let's remind our listeners for a lot of them who don't remember or didn't listen to the first episode. Let's give some context here because you're saying you were really alone for a long time. You were single for how many years again?
7.
You were a single girl in Shanghai for 7 years, right?
Crazy.
You're a young girl. You're a beautiful girl. To be single here and kind of like just fend off all like the suitors is for 7 years in Shanghai.
And you were approached. It wasn't like no one approached you,
That's
right?
got to be, you have to be
high
like very
standards.
actively fending people off, right?
The problem is, I'm telling you, it's just those guys during the 7 years. Yes, there's many guys, and also some I liked it. I like them, okay? But the problem is, I'm sorry. The problem is, I think I don't feel the real love. I don't feel they really love me.
But if you don't give people a chance, how do you know?
That's true. Like I have the list of what kind of perfect man I want. All the list, right?
You have an actual list?
I have like
Everybody's got a list.
Like an actual list? Like a physical list?
on my
In
iPhone.
your mind.
Also
I don't have
on
a
my
list.
on my phone. Before I
On my phone.
really I did.
Yes, she has a.
I
I
did.
bet Eric has in his
That's
notes.
Eric's level, yeah.
No.
I'm writing it down. Well,
That's Eric's level of like sociopathy. Okay.
Yes, but in the end, which is totally different. It's totally different.
Wait, so was that the first time you felt like, oh, there's something there? You had feelings for this person?
I'm telling you, that's really strange. First, we ran into each other in the restaurant, and I was eating, and so they joined us. There's 1 second. I look at him. 1 second, something like the
中文有没有说法? It's like the love at first sight kind of thing.
那个电流啊，电流。
这个是你第一次跟他见面的时
like
候吗
electricity.
应该如果准确来讲是第2次。
？Okay.
对 electricity。
你就有感觉 there's something there.
1
发
2
电
second
发电
2 second. Because I look at him and I was like,
So
no way,
Okay.
like no way.
do you believe in love at first sight though? Do you guys believe in love at first sight?
Never.
No, I believe lust in first sight,
Yeah,
not love at first sight.
yeah.
So you don't believe in love at first sight.
I don't.
So what was it that you were feeling then, Jenny?
Maybe it's lust. I'm the perv here. Remember?
Wait, what's lust in Chinese? I'm curious.
lust 应该就是，哎呦，我中文不太好。
什么中文不太好？
你是不敢说是吗？
不是我真的不知道怎么翻译。
Lust 就是
你来翻译。
我怎么知道怎么翻译
关于性的啦，就是关于那个就是生理上的。
？Lust 就是你想做爱嘛。
哦，这个就
Let's 说的简单，right? Let's 就说的直接一点，right?
It's
Let's not dance around the issue here. Lust 就是想做爱嘛，right? Let's get to the
就
point.
是哦
Let's get to the point.
就是你
maybe
看到一个人，然后呢，你身体的反应是很激烈的嘛。
哦，
对吧
我基本是没有这种情况的，就是真的是没有这种情况，但是
我也没有
那1秒应该是的。So
还有 is like 我经常有
你经常有吗
，No，还有
他一直
你
怪我。
我怎么会
So okay,
男
so
生很正常啦。
let's go back to not back. Let's fast forward. How did you make the first move? Because you said you made the first move.
I was really struggling. I how to say I didn't want to because the single life was perfect. Okay, can I ask one question? Because I'm 不停的在那边打嗝。
你说
你能听到吗？
可以可以
没有啊，听不到啊。
Oh,
I didn't
I don't
know
know
this.
why
没问题啊
I eat too much. Sorry.
I didn't
但
know.
是还好啦，没有什么。
Eating too much of that Italian food.
No, I had It doesn't matter.
so bad?
Can we just cheers
We're
first?
just
Right, we're
Cheers.
supposed to keep this.
We're being
show
childish.
clean.
We're
This
being
is like-
笑死我了。
这个是 we're still trying to work on our partnership with Disney. So come on, guys.
我前面说的哪？
就是你怎么 How did you make the first move?
Okay, single life was amazing, so much freedom. 然后呢
What about single life do you love? Did you love?
freedom.
No, because here's the thing. Like, I feel for obviously, 我也不知道, I don't know. Okay, but I'm guessing. 很多 local 的女生就是 Chinese women here, young women. They might not, you know, I don't know. Do you think there's more and more young Chinese women that want to be single rather than to have to be in a relationship?
I think it's because there's no woman in the world want to be single. This is what I really feel.
But you did. Or at least you say you
I
did.
lied to myself.
Okay, you lied to yourself.
It's
Okay.
because
Let's be honest here, right?
Of course, it's because I feel there's nobody really love me. That's why I've been single for so long, and I want someone who has able to understand me. But there's no one can really understand me. They cannot read me. I don't want to explain, because if you meet the right person, you don't have to explain.
So deep down inside, you were not happy being single, even though you say it was perfect.
To be honest, I said perfect because I was happy too. I was happy because for me, I got nothing to lose. I'm just enjoying my life, and I was still young. So for me, I'm okay to be single in that age, you know.
Okay, what about making the first move? Do you think more and more Chinese women are having the confidence or more willing to make the first move to chase a man?
I think a lot of girls doing that.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You see that? Like around you? Like your friends?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, why not?
I know. I mean,
I told you last time,
I'm on board.
Remember? I said I did that before,
Yeah.
so.
That's I just feel like it's 比较少见 here.
可能就是你遇到女生难搞嘛。
不一定，不一定。
Well, you don't, I mean, but Justin, you haven't had it, you know, like
Yeah,
you've
I'm
only
not
been
out
out of the
there.
game
I'm
for
not out
about
there.
30 years.
I'm generalizing, but I'm just like I'm guessing based off of like, you know, my previous
But
experience.
also it's like, I mean, 不是有个说法嘛，就是看你是从哪里来的 right? Like for example, maybe it's like 东北
Yeah.
人 they're more like
things are things
Jenny
are
是上海人嘛
Yeah.
right?
对的。
我觉得跟地域其实还好，没有太多关系。
I think the times have really changed because when you were like, oh, there's a saying, right? And
Yeah.
from the last show, you know, things have changed dramatically because you guys talked about like being an ABC in China and then like local guys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just from that conversation, like
Already.
things have changed dramatically. And then when you mentioned the saying, all of a sudden this really old saying popped up in my head. It's really silly. It's like 男人不坏，女人不爱, right? But that's like now you say that and it's like it feels so dated. It feels like it was from 10 years ago. Things have totally changed. We've just been out of the game. I've been out of the game for 5 years. You guys have been out.
counted 5 years.
Yeah. I met my fiance in 2016, so almost.
It's only been 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years. And then you guys even longer. So like we can't really speak to it. She's been in the game up until 10 months ago or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
So she has more up-to-date view. But based on our conversations about how women perceive men from different countries and different places, that's a massive shift. So you have to imagine that this piece also changed as well.
Kind of.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's in the spirit of kind of being a little more general, right? What do you think women in general are looking for in a man?
What's on your list?
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm
You have a
telling you. Woman want.
This is the paid segment, by the way, for all you guys. We're going to have to...
Okay. Woman want, I think, probably everything from a man.
Everything? 什么
Yeah.
意思啊 everything
Everything is
什么意思啊
like, okay, so the perfect guy for a woman, okay, he got, you know, have a stable job, make money, and paying everything,
Check.
and healthy,
Check.
right? And also, even he's busy, he has to always spend time with you, like all the time,
Yeah.
you know? And
Carry your purse.
This for me, no. Thank you. And, you know, have sex every day.
Every day?
I think so. I think in general, no.
Every day?
Yeah, otherwise they complain.
They complain?
No? Yeah, I mean, in general.
Boy, times
Wow.
have changed.
不可能的
I think
每一天？
我觉得是的. Of course.
但是你觉得你代表所有大部分的吗？
I'm not talking about myself. I'm
Oh,
talking
you're
about
not
in
talking about
general.
yourself. Women in general. So this is what you hear.
怎么可
from
能
other
每
girls?
一天
Okay,
啊
but how do you
I
know?
think so. How
怎么
do
可
you
能？
Where do
不
you
要自
get?
己骗自己啦。
每一天每一天你这样子不是很快就 like lose interest？
See, this is so also 那个男的也不能气定他。You know what I mean?
Of course, I guess that's a given. That's a
So
given.
where do you get that data point from, Jenny? Like, if it's not, we're not going to talk about you personally because I think that's a very personal matter. But let's say that you've collected information from your friends or people you know. Like, how solid is that information? Like, every girl you know, they want, you know,
Yeah, I don't know how true that
every day.
is.
Like, how? Where do
I
you get
think
that?
every day.
Where do you get that information from? Who do you get it from?
It's my
You can't back it up.
My inner thoughts.
Secretly, she's
Okay,
the
so
one.
you're just guessing.
She's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one.
yeah.
No,
You're talking
I
about
mean
you.
just
You're talking
you
about
know,
you.
but I'm telling you, in general, girls really want this. They just won't tell you.
等一下 leave
They don't
in the
want-
comments.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna
sorry.
see. We're gonna see the comments
They
after this
don't-
episode.
Yeah.
They don't want to stress you. You know what I mean?
所以现在你刚才就反过来了。You're saying that women want it.
I'm just be honest here.
Yeah, 因为一开始 at first you said no guys, you know, they don't want them to complain. So, 但是现在你说了 is 女生要的。
女生也是啊。
Do you
I
think
mean,
that
it's kind of
applies
same.
to like most women or just some women?
I think maybe half. I mean, I'm just how to say 一个比喻，不是说一定 exactly so, but
大部分还是什么
Of
呢
course，
你觉得大部
大部分
分
yeah，不然的话爱会没有吧？
爱跟性
肯定是有关系的。我觉得没有性就没有爱。
What?
interesting
Of
Wow.
course. Think about it.
interesting 因为我一直
你们可以说了。
No, because we always keep mixing up like confusing the idea of lust and love, right? A lot of times we, you know, in let's say when
When do we
talking
confuse
with
that?
when talking with guy friends, right? You know, sometimes we'll chat and you'll have a friend will be like, "Oh, I love her. She's so amazing. She's so
Yeah, but
beautiful."
they're saying
blah,
that
blah, you know?
facetiously and jokingly. Though.
Yeah, but at the same time, how many times have you had friends will go be like, "Dude, I'll do anything for that girl because she's so hot." You know what I mean?
But do you think they truly mean that, or just a saying? You know, guys say
I
that.
don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I have certain people in my mind right now. I don't know.
I think in the end of the day, the guy, the look of a woman is not the most important. Of course, it's not. It's something about what's inside of her.
Yeah,
to
you're
make
talking
her
from a female though right now.
see.
Okay, let's go back to
Yes.
the women's list though. So where does looks rank on the list? So they have to be financially competent, provide, spend time with you, have sex with you every day, you know, whatever, blah blah blah, healthy. So where does appearance and being like good looking fall on that
Right.
list?
I'm telling you, this I also thought about it. It's not about physically how he looks like. It's about the smell.
Okay, you're so weird. Your list is so weird right now.
Smile, 微笑.
No.
No, the
Smell.
smell.
味道.
Yes.
它的味道.
Smell.
它的 smell.
味道.
Yes,
臭不
I
臭?
think so. No, it is.
So you like guys who wear cologne?
No, it's
No,
not
it's
about the
the
perfume.
Pheromones,
It's the
pheromones.
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 It's
You know
like,
what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder what pheromones is in Chinese.
Okay, have you ever met a
look
girl
at
that?
How do you know? You can't smell the pheromones. Like you can't consciously smell it.
But okay, think about this. Have you ever met a woman that her
Like a
look
natural
is
smell.
her look it's not your type. Okay, but you just feel so lost. You know what I mean?
That's never happened to me. No, not this. Like yeah,
Really?
like that's never happened to me.
What about you?
What is this?
信息表，我觉得
信
maybe
息素.
maybe wanna say 荷尔蒙吧。
Okay, 我来回答吧。
Yeah, yes.
荷尔蒙。
Like it's not like how someone looks doesn't 100% correlate to
Yeah.
how much you want them physically.
Yeah.
You can want someone physically, but maybe it's like, oh, there's just something about her. I can't really put my finger on it.
Yeah. I mean, I to reply to you from me, yeah, I've met people in my past where maybe they were physically, in generally speaking, is like, okay, it's okay, you know, it's just like a 还好吧, you know, not a 传统的美女 or whatever, but something about them, you know. But I don't think it's just only about like pheromones or something like that. I think it's just like overall like the aura that they bring out. You know, the way they sit, the way they talk, the way they.
Well, that's the cheats is that you
Yeah,
talked
personality.
about
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
last episode, right?
Their
The-
swagger.
This,
I think it's a combination of that. Yeah.
It's hard to quantify.
Well, I think looks, I think subconsciously there's a lot that goes into someone's appearance that we just don't consciously recognize or want to necessarily give credit to admit, right? Because everyone wants to be like, oh, looks aren't everything, we're better than that, right? But at the end of the day, like, your looks won't be the final deciding factor in terms of a long-term relationship, but it will help you superficially get your foot in the door in the very first place, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you approach somebody, whether you're a girl or a guy, and 你的样子就长得像他们喜欢的样子的话, right? Like, it's so much easier for you to start a conversation or get to know them or get their phone number, 他们的微信, whatever it is. It's so much easier to get that foot in the door. And now what you do after that will less and less depend on your looks and more depend on everything else that you mentioned. But that foot in the door in the first place, I think, is heavily, because you don't know anything about a person. All you can do and judge is how they look at first. And that goes a long way.
I don't agree that goes a long way. Maybe it's just work in the beginning.
No, I'm
If
saying that
about-
goes a long way in the beginning. Like, the beginning kind of foot in the door is a crucial step, because if you don't pass that step, then forget about all the 后面的事情, you know? Because there is no other stuff if you can't get your foot in the
It's
door
like
in the first place.
it's like the 基本门槛.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I want to add on to that. It's like, because I think you need to separate. One is, do they look, 不管是男生女生, like 多么帅或者多么美, right? It's just like, I think you need to at least 过一个关, like Eric just said, which is 能看下去. You know what I mean? At the
对。
very least. It doesn't mean that they have to be 那么帅那么美, right?
Why I say this is because my boyfriend wasn't my type at all. But it goes really good now.
你的 type 是什么意思? He's not your type. 你什么意思呢?
What did you think your type was?
It's maybe Asian.
哦，不是，
No.
他不是亚洲人.
He's not. He's Italian.
He's a foreigner.
Yeah. I was surprised, no? I never thought about it.
You never
so-
dated a foreigner before.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Half. I don't know. I don't count that. I
It's
didn't,
like
it
three
doesn't
Asian
count
guys.
for-
Like, we're just stumped. It's like,
No.
like you asked, like, did we ever have a moment with a guest where we just didn't know what to say? We're just kind of like,
No, but no. I'm trying to say is the look doesn't really matters. If you never know. You never
I think
know.
I understand. Maybe let me paraphrase what you're saying. So basically, I mean, like they can't be like 不能是丑八怪,对吧?
那不行啊。
but like looks it won't guarantee you anything. It could eliminate you, but it's not going to guarantee you anything. But it could
Yeah.
eliminate you, right? So it's just one condition in there.
And it can make it easier.
Yeah.
And I want to clarify what I said. I don't mean looks as in you have to be super classically good looking. I don't think that matters as much. What I'm saying is every person has kind of like what they're looking for, their style, you know? So even if you're not looking, there's a lot of people out there that like, you're not good looking in the sense that like maybe classically we think you're good looking, right? But there's going to be a bunch of people out there that kind of like the way you look, right? As long
Yeah.
as you can pair up with somebody in terms of your appearance.
Yeah, yeah.
哦，这个就是我喜欢的样子。Even though 他不是一个很帅的那种帅哥 like you know 明星啊或者怎么样 but he's like 他就是我的菜 he's like my type.
萝卜青菜各有所爱.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What I'm trying to say
Damn.
is when you meet the right guy, when you meet the, let's say, a person that you truly love, you just never know what he or she looks like.
Yeah, but I mean, if we talk like that, I think it's a little, it's not so controversial, and it's, you know, I think what we were saying before when we're being very specific is very controversial. It's like, I only like this, I only like that.
But I have to tell you what I said, what women want from men. What I said, it's just, I'm talking about a dream. It's not reality. It was a dream that women dream about those men.
Who gave you that dream? Like, who gave women that dream?
Yeah, where are you getting all this from?
Myself. No, I mean
movies.
I mean
No,
movies.
but 这是个真的话题。
是的呀。
这个 dream 是哪里来的？You know 这个标准，你刚才形容的那个、for me is like 从女生角度最完美的男生应该是怎么样 right? So like where does that come from?
Even what we find attractive, like
Yeah.
how are we
然后
conditioned
从
to
男生
feel what's
男生
attractive?，
因为我为什么问这个？因为男生、generalizing 男生是 it's a very physical reaction to a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like biological reactions. But like a lot of things you're saying were not biological.
See.
Well, it could be maybe if you really break it down. But 你知道的意思吗？
明白。But this is what it is. I mean, that was what I wanted. You know what I
你有
mean?
问过自己为什么你要want这个吗？
Because I deserve it. You know what I mean?
You didn't want to settle.
I think I deserve it. I don't know. I mean, every girl want a perfect man. Every man maybe want a perfect woman if they could.
But do you think that's dangerous or that's unhealthy necessarily to have this perfect standard based off of all these criteria? It's like a checkbox. And then so every person you're meeting, you're kind of checking off a list instead of just maybe realizing maybe there's other great attributes about this person that you're not realizing because you're so focused on your own list. You're not even paying attention to other things that this person might can bring.
See, this is why I want to say it's just because this is my own experience. I was the kind of a girl live in that kind of a dream that I want to kind of the guy like that. But how I really become so happy and so real about myself is when I throw away this
放
list.
弃。
Yes, I don't look at the list. I just follow my feelings, and I think it doesn't matter if he's if he's perfect. I mean, but this guy truly make me so happy, and I never be so happy like this. You know what I mean?
So you realized that what you really wanted was different than what you had on your list. Now,
Totally different.
yeah, do you think that that had any what impact or relationship do you think that had on the 7 years that you didn't have a serious relationship, like this list, this concept?
Actually, it's all also about myself. It's like because I never be real to any of them. Because I was so scared to be myself. I want to hide my 缺点. I don't want they look down at me. So I have to pretend I'm tough, and I am tough, but I don't have to be like that, But I have to pretend that I'm kind of perfect. I try to be perfect, but so I wasn't happy for so many years. So now it's a time to be real.
Interesting what you just said. It's like you try to be perfect,
Yeah.
and yet you're also projecting that perfect man in front of you that you're looking
Yeah.
for. So it's like what you look into yourself is actually, and your fear about yourself, about not being perfect, you project that onto the man, and you're like, oh, I gotta find a perfect man.
Yeah. Do you know why I try to be perfect? Because I was thinking this way. I think, okay, I have to be prepared until I meet this perfect man. So I at that time, I'm gonna be a perfect woman, so I can have.
我想问一个东西. I want to ask something. Just
Yeah.
It's still based off of this idea. You can take from your list or not. Just react. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. If you can name one thing that is 你最讨厌的, like from a characteristic from a guy that you can't stand, a pet peeve.
最讨厌的一个点，
Yeah, what would you say?
不忠诚。Cheating. This is the must know.
But I think that's obvious, though,
Yeah, but
right?
what about characteristic, like a personality
这不是
trait?
讨厌不讨厌的问
Yeah,
题，
yeah,
对吧
这个是？
就是说不忠诚这个就是人者方面的问
Yeah,
题，
yeah,
就是说
yeah.
什么东西不讨，比如说吃饭然后就
Yeah.
like whatever,
这种啊。
right？有没有什么就是什么方面的？
好
Like, what's your
这很
first?
细节
What's your
嘞。
first? Yeah, just
Well,
what
it could
your
be
first reaction.
anything. It could be anything, or like.
And I'll tell you why I'm asking that. So.
Well, good question. I never thought about this.
你肯定有个画面出来了，你肯定有个
我
东西，
还真没有我说实话。
就是有个东西，就是你觉得就会有点
Okay, let me let's.
Okay, so okay. Oh, it's also because it's like he always checking on other women. Is that move? It's a move.
Checking
right?
out other women.
Yeah, I mean.
哦，眼睛
like,
就在飘来飘去的。
哎，就很色嘛，这种就很 ill。
Okay.
But this is like that's a lot of guys. Like that's just natural. Like look but don't touch,
I
right?
know.
That makes sense.
Cannot.
It makes sense.
Do women check out other guys like all the time?
No,
like,
they're so like they do, but they don't
They
let
totally
you know.
do. Are you kidding
I'm
me?
don't
sure
even
they do,
know.
right?
I don't.
I'm always
It's because
observing.
it's okay. I have to be honest. I don't is because there's no one I think I can. I don't know.
Okay, but
also because I'm in a relationship, so different. No.
Can we say it's fair? Is it fair to say that we feel like women check out other guys just as much as men check out other girls?
No, I don't.
No
think
way.
so. I don't. I really
Guys
don't
are
think.
just
Guys are
On
just
another
dogs.
level. You think
Yeah.
guys are just on another level?
Guys are like dogs, like literally, like just like
Very honest.
right. That's just how we're wired.
Smells.
Okay.
The smell. You see.
No, no.
Sorry, the pronunciation.
So,
smell.
When.
When.
okay. Let's ask the same question in a different way, right?
No, but
So-
you were on like a thing. Like you were asking her for a reason. Like what was the?
But let me
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
the same question in a different way because we want to get to the answer before he reveals his
Okay.
grand theory.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So have you
so
ever?
strong, this.
Yeah, it is a little strong. You'll get used to it. This is like the least strong. Like we'll give you some Cavalon, and then you'll know what strong means.
Thank you.
So you've been on? I'm sure you've been on some dates that didn't turn into a relationship, right? So was there something that turned you off when you went on a date with some? Like for all the people who failed with you that you thought in the beginning, because you're 比较主动, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
So you go approach them. You're like, oh, let's hang out. You hang out, and then something's like,
Yeah, it's a good way to
right?
put it.
倒胃口, right? What is the 倒胃口 thing? It's not about looking around, obviously.
Yeah.
Wow. There's one time. There's one time. Okay. There's one time. I think he was joking, but there's one time I turned off because of that. After the dinner, he said, "Are you not gonna share the bill?" Oh my god! Immediately turn off.
I can see that. Like if I was a girl,
Yeah.
that would turn me off too.
But actually, he was, of course,
So they wanted to go AA.
I think he was just testing me.
See,
I'm not gonna go A anyways.
but okay, so think about so let's talk strategy now, right? Because we are all in very happy, committed relationships, all of us now. So we're kind of like brainstorming on behalf of people, and we have a lot of young listeners, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of helping people understand if you want to meet the right person, don't fuck things up so that you get to a point where it could have gone well and then you fucked it up in the very beginning, because in the beginning it's very 脆弱, right? So if you're a dude, think about your key message in the date. Why would you joke? It's not even a funny joke. If you have a great joke, an awesome moment where you have a good joke and there's a lot of risk but good reward, but if you take that joke, you get no reward out of it. It's not funny. So even if you joke, it's a stupid thing to do. It's not going to get you anywhere with the girl.
I agree. It's a terrible joke, but I know ABCs, right? Local guys will never do this, but ABCs, I've known some that have done that as a test, just like what you're saying. They've actually tested. It wasn't a joke to them. They
这个是 ABC 吗？
算是
they were totally willing to pay the bill, except they wanted to test the girl to see if she would even offer.
Yes,
to
you're
split
right.
the bill, just to kind of see, because there's a whole stereotype and stigma of Chinese girls being gold diggers, or just
That's
girls being gold diggers in
old
general, right?
School thinking.
Oh, exactly what
The
I'm saying.
times have changed. Women now in China are smart, intelligent, financially secure.
For sure, we don't need to say that.
many, right?
We're no one's saying they're not.
So it's just stupid. Well, how long ago was this though?
2 years ago.
Yeah. See this guy. So guys, don't do that.
So yeah, but some people were doing that as a test, which brings up the whole question of because you brought up one thing on the very top of your list, if I'm not mistaken, maybe one of the first things you mentioned on your list was this person needs to be able to financially provide for you, right? Obviously,
No, that's not what she said. She said, good job doesn't mean provide for her. She runs her own business. She probably makes more money than the dude. She said, have a good job, stable career. Doesn't mean
Provide for her.
Provide for her. That's old school thinking.
Okay, so then why stable job and career?
Because
If
after
not-
有
If not
出息啊，
if
不是
not
没有
about the
出
money.
息的人呢。
Okay, I think you guys both make sense. Okay,
Politician.
I'm
No,
telling
I'm
you.
not trying to make a point. I'm just making
我们经
observations.
常喜欢 argue 的。
No,
No,
so,
there's nothing to argue here. I'm not making a point. I'm just making an observation.
让他说，让他说。
我觉得所有的女生吧，就是我个人的话，我觉得我还是有一点传统的。I'm actually traditional.
你一直
so
这样说，但是你
我是
明明不是的。
哎呀，你怎么那么了解我
There's nothing traditional about you, and nothing you say is
Wait.
traditional.
Hold
No,
on.
no, no. I'm
Is there
telling
not
you.
the possibility that you can be part of two different worlds, just like us? We're East and West. Can you be traditional and
Maybe.
modern at the same
让他
time?
说吧，我看一下。
就是 like okay after marriage, I think this guy should be, take care of a woman. You know what? Take care of a
Define take care
wife.
什么意思？
Just like pay everything.
Take care.
Pay everything. Yeah,
It's
financially
just like you
to
said.
financially provide.
I think okay, so of course, as a woman like me, I would do also a lot of things for the house, for the maybe children, for my husband, right? But I mean, most of the part it's from men. I think that's why he
这是
must
比较
have
传统。
a stable job, and because as a wife, I would do like maybe cooking, take care of more about the house. So I
But
think
you're a
it's
career
fair.
woman, so do you think you would really be happy just taking care of the house?
The problem is I really love it. I mean, I love to be like kind of, to prepare the food for the husband after
What's
long
it all?
day working.
So you like
I have
the
this
traditional
dream.
roles. You like the
I have-
traditional gender roles.
I love it. I think it's amazing.
There's nothing wrong with
他
that.
现在的路线是被逼出来的。
不是啦，
也不是的
我是真的喜欢啦。
No， 我的意思就是你做一个 entrepreneur，做很多事情是逼出来的。
对
Because you don't have the 机会 to really like fall into that role. So you're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna like just be that way myself. So I'm gonna be entrepreneurial. I'm gonna be strong and blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
then 当你见到一个人适合的人，那你就会退步了。你就会也不是说退步，就是 go back to the way you really want to be, right?
Yes.
Can you say it? Can I say that?
这个
Yes.
这个没有矛盾的。
Yeah, 没有矛盾。
没有矛盾。
Or is it maybe grass is greener on the other side kind of syndrome? Where because your daily life, you're not kind of like, haven't really experienced those traditional gender roles because you've always had to be a very independent woman, very entrepreneurial. So you're always experiencing that. So to you, grass is greener on the side. When you do get into a relationship, you're like, you know what? I want that more traditional gender role. I want to be like the housewife cooking because that's not what I get to do normally. But if, let's say, situations were different and you were a girl that you weren't so, like business-minded, you weren't so motivated to, or not motivated, but you didn't really have the opportunities to get out there and start your own businesses, run your own companies, and you were all day kind of already in the house and blah, 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 you might think differently. You might think, well, you know what? I want to have that freedom to get out there and do my own things and not be kind of stuck in the house and cleaning and whatever it is, right?
Yes.
So maybe it's the kind of grass is greener on the other side syndrome.
Yes, but for me, I'd love to do that. It's just, I think it's fine. I mean,
I get
it's
it.
nice.
I've heard that before.
So
Really
do you
nice.
do it now?
Huh?
You're too busy. Do you do it now?
I do. For example, if
You cook for a chef?
yeah, I do Chinese food. But he cannot make Chinese food, right? So the most enjoy in the house it's like after because restaurant's a really really tough job. So after a long day he got home, I would ask him like 1 hour ago, like you tell me before 1 hour. So I prepare everything and I just watch him to eat, and I think it's a happiness.
That's
It's
sweet.
a really good thing.
What's Chef G's favorite dish that you make?
红烧肉
Hey, wait, can we be friends with Chef G? Because we want to come over.
Of course, of course.
Like Chef G, please, we love Italian people.
Actually,
You're
okay.
awesome.
我想聊一个话题 based on this. It's like because personally, I have thought about this. Coming from a Western upbringing, thinking about what is the ideal life as a male in a relationship, marriage. What do I want from a female, etc. Right?
Yeah.
And then living in China all these years, I've personally thought about both sides. One of, for example, from a woman's side, I want them to be independent, strong, hardworking, all that stuff. Have independent thinking, out there doing their thing. and I support them. Or the other side is, okay, well, I support them, but they're more on the housewife style, take care of the home and stuff like that, and kind of baby me a little bit, and and like all that stuff. And I just thought about it because at first it was very one-sided. It was very like, well, I could never accept a woman like that, like a housewife type, because that's like that. They have no ambition. There's no passion. Like, how can I ever be with anybody like that, right? But then I don't know. I started thinking about it, and I think it's really comes back to the whole to each their own, because there are women that are very happy to be that way, and who am I to push my agenda on them to make them be passionate or chase these dreams or whatever? Maybe they don't really care that much about it. Maybe their dream is to have that beautiful home and take care of the family and raise good kids and feel that they're needed. You know what I mean? And they have that strong role in the family, right?
I think as a real man, right? I think a real man find out the beauty of a housewife. This is what I feel. They will think she's sexy, she's smart, because she's just taking care of the family, and which is most important thing in our life, right? So I think as a woman, also for a man, why I said a stable job, because everything costs. This is the reality. And also like we need this man always support us, as you said. Yes, like you can be a housewife, but you can also have your career, and your man can stay always next to you, to helping you to help you to achieve your dreams. So I think this is the good partner.
This is breaking through, I think, a lot of unconscious bias. So, we grow up and, we watch movies. We're exposed to a lot of the same culture. You're a little bit younger, so you've been exposed to a lot of Western media. So we have these ideas in our head, like your perfect list. What you really found, though, from your own experience is that that perfect list didn't really represent what you really wanted. You thought you wanted that, but what you really need was something a little bit different. And so we have these really cookie cutter, black and white, like you're a housewife, you're a career woman, all this stuff. And then now there's a movement that says, okay, we can't think of people that way. Like like women can do this and women can do this, right? And we've created all of these sort of artificial, superficial kind of distinctions. The reality is we should break all that down. What men want, right? We talked about women. We can go back to that. What men want is a woman that is ambitious, right? That is, trying to learn new things and trying to grow. And if that place is at the home where they're, always thinking of new ways to make the home better, then they will gain our respect and we will love them more, right? What I think the housewife things get associated with is like the ingaida, because you guys
it's like
talk
a negative
about
thing.
ingaida, and then it's just a very low menial role.
Yeah.
No, like if you're at home and making the home, because I'm not good at that kind of stuff, but I tell you, it's so important. It's so important that you have someone that can innovate around the home and make it better, because that's like a big part of your life.
Huge.
And people who can do that have that incredible creativity and skill, and it doesn't preclude you from being a career woman. And so we like to think of these roles and then have all these conversations about these preconceived roles. The reality is that we're human beings. We're malleable, flexible human beings. We can take on different roles. But if there's a woman that, if I've had a difficult day, right, and can make something for me, great. Like in our household, like I work in a company that has a great cafeteria. So most of the time, I actually buy all the food. I shouldn't be saying this because now everyone knows. But anyways, so I buy my dinner at the cafeteria too, because the food is really good. It's healthy. Mm-hmm. And then because I know that she's also working and she's probably not going to be able to make dinner, but on the weekends when she does, I really appreciate it. There's no ingai, but I appreciate it. And so when she makes that great steak or whatever it is, I'm like, okay, you're awesome, because you're really, pursuing your career. And when you do have time, you can make something, right? Whereas the old me would have been like, oh, 为什么我的 dinner 你每天都不做呢? Right? But that there's no, it's yeah. Anyways, I'll let you comment.
No, I'm listening.
No. Please comment though. I think that's what I wanted to say.
I just want to add one more thing before you comment. It's just that I think that it's because in the West it's a bit frowned upon, that way of thinking, a little bit, like the whole like the whole like women 应该在家 or
Now it is.
Yeah.
It used to be the social norm.
Yeah. It's now it is. It's like
No, it's frowned everywhere. We all frown on that traditional, like that's all you can do.
Times have changed, but
Times
like
have
there
changed,
there was a time not too long ago
Yeah.
that was completely acceptable.
But what
In-
I'm trying to say
in
is that there's
America.
nothing wrong with a woman wanting that. Like striving to be the ultimate housewife.
But see, so I agree with you, and I also want to bring a subtle distinction. I don't think women are like, I want to be a housewife and only a housewife. I think they're thinking in terms of these are the things I want to do to make a better family. And so we're treating it as a job. It's not a fucking job, right? No one wants the job of being a housewife. But you might say, okay, I want to make the house really beautiful, right? Or I want to maybe cook for the family from time to time. There's specific things and tasks and, activities that want to be done, but no one wants to be pigeonholed like that is who you are.
Well, let's reel this in a little bit though, because I think we're letting this kind of idea get a little bit out of hand. I don't think anyone was ever thinking that it was bad for a woman to want to fit into a traditional, the quote unquote traditional kind of gender role, right, of being a housewife. The stigma to it was that it shouldn't be the male kind of expecting that from the woman,
Yeah.
or forcing the woman to fit into that mold. If she wants to do something else, you should maybe support her in that and not kind of force her to be a housewife. But if she wanted to be a housewife, that was never frowned upon in terms of, you want to be a housewife.
But that's
Like,
not the distinction I was making. The distinction I was making was that I think we should think of it even in more subtle terms. I don't think that anyone wants to be, put a hat on that says you're A or you're B or you're C. And I think that's the distinction. We've traditionally characterized you're either A or you're either B. And we put this hat on you and say that defines who you are. What we're saying is we're all human beings and there's certain things that we like to do. And there are actually a lot of house things that women would like guys to do. There's certain things that I do at home. Maybe I wash the dishes and that's my expectation. I'm saying break down all these barriers. There's certain things at home that we all can do, but putting a label on it is, I think, the next is, first of all, let's not like say that你应该怎么样, but I think the second step is break down the labels. We can all have a career and we can all play our role at home. There's certain things that I do at home. Like I wash the dishes. There's certain things that might be traditionally considered what the woman would do, but the expectation is that like I do it. But then there's a lot of things like ordering the food. I don't order any of the food. Like the fridge is always stocked, right? So I think we just want to break things down so that we don't have any kind of preconception of who would want to do what.
this, did you, something else?
Yeah, let's hear from Jenny.
So actually, I was also thinking about some things like I wanted to be a traditional, or I want to be, take care of the family. But the reality actually is pretty difficult because the working time or, my working time, sometimes I couldn't let it happen like every single day, which is I wanted, but sometimes also physically your body will feel tired and you just be lazy. It will happen, but I think I just trying the best to make it like this.
You do what you can.
But I think you make a point is like if the guy forcing a woman to do this, everything will totally change. It's not good, and the woman will lose the passion to doing the things.
Like this whole conversation actually, I'm going to virtue signal a little bit, but this whole
What do you think I was
conversation,
doing the whole time? I'm just kidding.
this whole conversation is actually making me feel a lot better about myself. And the reason is because I've never subscribed to this whole having a preordained list or predetermined list of who my ideal partner was going to be. And for the longest time, because, you guys or my friends around me would always ask me like, oh, like what would your perfect girl be? Like we would always kind of go through these like exercises, these mental exercises, like, just chit chat, guys talking amongst guys. Oh, like who's your perfect girl? Like who, before I got married, like who would you want to marry? Who's your perfect wife? And everyone seemed always to have like a very clear articulated list, like, oh, boom, 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 A, B, C, D. And I never had a list. And because I never agreed with the idea of having a predetermined list. I'm like, there's so many different people out there with so many different personalities, so many different traits. who am I to be like, oh, this is exactly what I want? How do I know? Like, you get out there and you expose yourself to more and more people and you learn more and more things. The more you realize, the more you kind of interact, the more you realize there's so many great things out there that people can have and attributes people have that you never even thought of before. So I was always thought of like, how can you even have a list? And I always felt that was something wrong with me. So I always thought of it as a negative thing until today, because everyone else seemed to have a list, and except me. So I thought that like, oh, are my standards just so low that I don't even have a list? You know, like
It's funny.
I got self-conscious about that because I was like, oh, maybe I just don't have standards. Like
Yeah, 因为
everyone
因为
seems,
Justin 以前会说 like 他可以走路就够了。
But it's a good thing. It's
开玩笑，
healthy.
就可能。
No, but I have said that in a joking fashion. But I said it facetiously in the sense that, like, look, I'm not here to like prejudge people or like predetermine what I want. I want to find out what I want. What you want should always be a learning process. It should always be exploring what you want.
Let's
So I always
let's
thought
look
like,
at the
oh,
list.
did I
though.
not
Okay.
have enough standards?
So your wife, okay, beautiful, check, right? Good career, check. Like very sweet, check. Like articulate in multiple languages, check. Like cool to hang out with for your friends, check. Okay, dude.
Yeah, but that was never thought. Like that was never things I thought about.
Right.
Yeah, you know, like these were never things. I never had a checklist.
Yeah.
When I met somebody, I never like went down a checklist. Oh, do they meet these
I
criteria?
have an unconscious. I mean, I have a new term I'm gonna coin. It's called the unconscious checklist by
Hey,
Justin.
can I ask you guys one question?
Yeah，你可以
So
问我们。
you think everyone has a checklist? They just don't know it.
Yes, of course.
I would
Right.
argue on that, but
I
that's
really
that could be
If you
different
ended
conversation.
up with some trash, then then yeah. But like, I mean, come on.
Okay, so I'm
That
gonna
doesn't
ask.
prove anything. Okay.
Okay, I'm not gonna air it out.
I'm just curious. Would you? Okay, so you date. Okay, let's think. Now you're dating a girl, right? And she's a nice girl, and you pretty like her. But would you change your mind to Would you change your mind? How do you say?
你就用中文吧。
When you find out, okay. 好，等一下啊。Alright, okay. 那我说中文了，就是如果你现在在约会一个女生嘛，然后呢，你其实还蛮喜欢她，感觉也蛮好的，但是当你知道她是一个学习很差，然后也没有进大学。然后他那时候的工作状态也很不好，然后他因为工作状态不好，也会经常喝醉或什么，你会、对，就是但是他其实是个好的人，但是他的 behavior 是那样，那你没有去了解他之前，你还没有了解他，但是他 behavior 是这样，那你会不会就是说就是 change your mind？
Well, I don't know
Let's each answer that. You go
maybe
first.
你说那个经常会喝醉的 I mean, that's probably something I would be worried about for sure.
Yeah.
但是她的 career, 她的 job, what job she has, what career she does, has never been on my list, and I've never cared. I've always told, my wife today, like, she can quit her job now. I wouldn't care. I would still love her.
That's
Like,
so nice.
and the job she has now, by the way, when I met her, she didn't have. She was just an intern. You know what I mean? It's like she wasn't, anything really at that point in terms of career-wise. So, a woman's kind of profession and job and status in the professional realm has never, ever, I've never cared about. Never cared about. And her education, I care about even less. I've always been like that. Like, I've never cared for the educational system in terms of judging people by, oh, you graduated from this school, so you must be good. You must be better. You must be smarter. I've never cared for that kind of shit. So I've never looked for that in a partner, and I've never cared. I only found out where she went to school after we've been dating for like years. Like, I've never even cared to ask where she graduated. That's never registered for me.
Justin, I find what you just shared, I mean, pretty admirable. I like the way you articulate that. I do feel from all the years we've known each other that you're a really great judge for character. And, it sounds like the way you judge people is not based on these superficial things, because you could have a degree from a great school and still be a shit person. And so I think what you're saying is that you have standards, but they're not conventional standards. And I would have to guess that the reason that, your wife has a good career and, solid education, all these things is a reflection of her character. And you were judging or, your standard was based on the character, and these kind of things kind of flowed from that. I mean,
my standard is based off of my actual interactions over a duration of time with a person, and not a checklist where I'm like, oh, did you do this, this, and this? And they just be like, okay, no? Okay, then I'm off on to the next person. Like, my standards, it's not that I don't have standards. I think you're right in terms of the idea that it's impossible not to have some sort of standards. Innately, we're all built with standards, whether we realize them or not. My point is, my standards are flexible in the sense that I judge a person after interacting with them for a period of time and getting to know the person, and not some sort of surface level checklist where I'm like checking off boxes,
I totally 100%
That's
agree.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean, your choice of friends obviously shows your great judgment.
Except I failed with you,
yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, interactions over a duration of time, half of which we don't remember.
So I think one of the things I want to add to that is cheers.
See you never.
Cheers. See you never.
We have a long
You
history.
guys are really because last time was like more peace.
Eric and I have a complicated history.
Yeah,
But it's
we
good.
love each other.
Yeah, we
love each other.
We do.
This guy's awesome.
Yeah, so one thing I want to add to what Justin was saying was like, I'm not going to say from personally, but I think in general, everybody has different standards, right? And also it depends on your upbringing, depends on your economical status, depends on, I guess a lot of variables in terms of determining if you can accept a person's background based off of a certain checklist, right? Because there are certain, I know people that literally do work off that checklist, right?
Yeah.
And without that checklist, you can't even have the dinner with me until you hit that checklist.
It's like the basic menkan.
Yeah, it's like a menkan, right? And what Justin was saying and what Eric was also adding on to, you can't have a checklist because that checklist is not so black and white. Just like you can graduate from Harvard, right? And because maybe your menkan is, I need somebody that has really high education. But they could be a fucking asshole, a dick.
That was me. That was on my list.
Yeah. Or like, 他必须要年薪100万200万 whatever it is, right? But that same guy is cheating every other day, sleeping with many different people. I mean, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
I know.
必须要帅成像 whatever 演员, right? But that guy doesn't know how to take care of anything in his life. 我随便说啊, you know what I mean?
是的。
所以你不可能有一个 checklist, 其实。
我真实已经给大家做过这个实验了。
怎么做？
就是我有按照我的那个 checklist 去做，就是说去择偶啊，去
约会吗？在约会的时候吗？
去 dating 约，然后但是那个人其实是非常不适合你的，就是其实根本跟你就他不能够给你带来那个快乐。就是我觉得很多人是自己骗自己。You know，
Yeah.
他们都自己骗自己嘛，就是觉得OK，so actually 很多人碰到一个男生的时候，或者是女生就很 perfect for them， 然后他们就会容忍一切其他的，他的一些 cheating 也好，他的那个对他的精神的折磨，他们都会
他就会
接受呀，
接受呀。Turn the other cheek to 他的很多 other flaws。
就闭着眼。
Only because 他有 check off 他们觉得他们的想要的 list。
对的。
所以他们很多其他的缺点，他们就 ignore。
然后他们就很痛苦。其实很痛苦。
但我问你啊，就是 maybe 痛苦 ，maybe 有些人是 OK 无所谓啊。
你知道吗？因为那些人是只在乎别人对他们的看法。因为别人说起来，她男朋友是哪里学校的，赚多少钱的，帅不帅的。
但是你不觉得到最后 ，everybody is different, everybody has different standard, everybody has different 追求，所以你不可能有一个方式概括 everybody， 不可能的 ，right?
Everyone has different priorities,
Yeah.
and some people, and sometimes we don't know what our priorities really are until you live them day to day. A relationship is a day-to-day thing, right? It's an everyday thing. And so there are things that you think you might want in your head, but can you live with those day to day? And I think that's a mistake people make. And that's why divorce and all these things happen, because everything gets checked off in the beginning. But when you have to be with this person and then you really understand what it's like to be day to day with them married, then you realize what's really important. So sometimes it's the second or the third marriage that people really figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's true.
99%, I think. I feel.
If there's one advice, right? And obviously, who am I to give advice? But if there's one thing that I'm thankful that I did before I got married, was that I actually lived with my girlfriend for several years before we got married. So like, you know, a lot of people get these in Western culture in America, it's called shotgun marriages, right? Where they meet for like 2 months and then they get married after like the second month, right? It's like, it's crazy, right? And, you know, sometimes they work out and fingers crossed, you know, wish them luck.
Yeah.
But like for me, what I'm so thankful that I did was that I lived with my girlfriend and eventually fiance. We lived together for like at least 6 years, if not more.
Tough.
And I'm not saying you have to go that long. We just went really long, but I lived for her for like several years together every day before we got married. And so by the time I married her, I didn't have any doubt. I wasn't like, oh man, what if she turns into this like whole different person or blah, blah, blah. Like I knew exactly what I was buying. Right? It's like test driving a car before you buy a car. It's like you have to drive it for a while. Like you gotta know, you gotta know exactly what you're getting. Because to Eric's point, we check things on the surface, and just like on a date, you put up like, or on an interview, on a job interview, you put up your best facade, you put up your best front. But that's just a front. Like we need to know like the person you are on a day-to-day basis. And oftentimes there's a lot of things that we're hiding or we're lying about or that we're just not admitting. And you can't hide those things living together for 6 years with somebody. You just can't.
Justin, so it's interesting what you say, and I feel you, right? Now, the audience, I'm guessing, right, is going to be polarized on this one. So every guy that's listening to the show will be like, yeah, man, you held out for 6 years? Oh, shit, yeah, dog.
Girls are like, fuck you can't hold
like,
out for 6
he's like,
years.
that's my hero, right? And then every girl listening is like, you dragged your feet for 6 years? Like, what? Because I think a lot of women, they know. Women's instincts are just, I think in general, better than men. Like a lot of studies show this, right? Like women are very like instinctive. They have to protect the family, like all this stuff. So I think most women, they know. Like they go into it, they spend a short amount of time and they know they're just like, they're, you know, and guys, like they go through this long process and then you have this sort of.
I'm going to say something controversial here. Okay.
Well, since when?
But I don't think it's necessarily they know, but I think that women face a different social pressure than men do. So women face a social pressure of not only aging and biological time and having to get married earlier, right? They face a lot of pressure. So they are always incentivized and pressured to get married earlier than, let's say, men are, right? And that's just a social pressure in society. That's just the reality of things. I'm not saying it's right. But what I'm saying is that like what I just said about like my advice goes just as much for men that it does to women. Like I would give women that same advice because to women out there, you got to know what you're getting yourself into too. It's a two-way street. Like you got to know what you're buying because the guy, like you don't know until you actually live with this guy.
Yeah.
For a while and really get to know him and then have all his ugly sides come out. And if you can accept all the ugliness that comes out, then you know you have someone you really love.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of ugly signs, but I think if you really love this person, you think it's also a good thing of him. It's a
but that's the difference.
Special thing.
That's the difference. It's the word you just used. If you think you love him. Yeah, that's great. You can think you love somebody, but you just think you love them. You have to know you love them.
No, I mean, if you really love them, if you really love them.
But that's the fucked up thing with love is like love, because like often that's why there's puppy love. There's love at first sight. When I was younger and, you know, I dated earlier girlfriends, I could have sworn I was head over heels about a girl, so in love. There was nothing you could say to me at that point in time that would convince me otherwise. Right? So that's the fucked up and crazy thing about love is that when you feel you are in love, there's nothing that can tell you different. There's nothing that can convince your mind otherwise, and you're actually probably not thinking clearly enough, right? And you're so like just wrapped up in it that you just don't see the bigger picture sometimes, and there's no one that can tell you different. So it's the difference between feeling love and knowing you're in love, you know? And that's the evil thing. Well, not evil thing, but that's the tricky thing about love is every time you are in love, whether it works out or whether it becomes, or it's real or not, you feel, you know, you are in love. You're like, to you, it's a fact at that point. There's like, it's absolute fact. But then oftentimes, at least throughout my life, I could have told you several times before that I was in love. I was in love. I was in love. Looking back on it now with what I have with my current wife, I can look back on those times and be like, well, no, that wasn't love. Like,
Right.
like I just thought that at the time.
It's a maturity, actually, I think, to begin to even understand like what is the definition of love, because that's like an age-old question. Like, what does love mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like, just like I was saying, you're asking like love at first sight, and I'm saying no, it's lust at first sight, right? Or puppy love, you know, the early stages of love.
Love never first sight, I feel.
No, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of definitions for love,
Yeah.
right? And then people always have their own belief of what love is, and there is no official definition of love. It only can be defined by what you experience and what you believe in.
Yeah.
Right?
No one can tell you what love is.
No one can tell you.
You can
And
only tell yourself.
Like, for example, if I'm going to use myself as an example, like I was always searching for that ideal idea of what love is. And that would have meant that I'm eternally always feeling positive and happy in a relationship, and the person makes me feel good, and I can make that person feel good. And there's that attraction, and the sexual connection is great. And when we're together, we're having fun. Right. So to me, I was like, well, that must be love. Right. But then I realized that because I've been in long-term relationships, that goes away. Like all different things, like all the different facets of a relationship, like these specific particulars, they go away. Right. Or they transform to different meanings. And so one thing that I realized is that made me realize that I love my wife is that it's constant changing, and I'm in it. Like, I'm okay with changing, you know what I mean? And I'm okay with that person changing. And as long as like we're constantly changing, maybe that's love, you know, because we're constantly giving, you know what I mean? We're giving to each other to make sure that we're growing, right? So like, maybe that's what it means, at least for me.
Yeah. Like you threw the list out the
Yeah,
window.
my list
like,
is gone.
Yeah.
Because just like what she said, my wife did not hit all the numbers that I was expecting, you know,
Yeah.
but that's okay. It's okay. You know?
Totally okay.
What do you think, Jenny?
I think love is a really complicated thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Like-
think I still have a lot to learn, to be honest.
So do we all.
Right.
Everyone does.
Yeah, but you know, what I know it's about now, you know, in this moment, what we have, and I just try my best to living it, to love.
Well, so when I'm thinking about this from maybe like a female's perspective, right? One thing that I've learned is that men are very sure about a lot of things, but we're frequently wrong. And when I've taken the time to talk to females in my life, my significant other, my mom, you know, etc., I learned so much, and I realized that we're probably more sort of self-assured than women are, and they're a little bit more, you know, maybe willing to kind of question their own beliefs. And so when I've taken the time to understand them, I realize like, God, like I have a lot of shit that I think, but I'm totally wrong. And so when it comes to love and all these things, I realize that I probably don't really know what I'm talking about, because I get the other perspective. I'm like, damn, that really makes sense, right? Like talking to other people. And I think everyone has to go through their process a little bit. So like you went through this process. So think about it, like your wife is the same person. Like theoretically, you didn't have to go through the 6 years. It wasn't like those 6 years that, you know, like you weren't like giving her tests every day and then like making sure she's still really the same person. But you needed to go through your process. She might not have needed that. Like when I think about my significant other, it's like, okay, I had to go through my process. But one thing that made me sure that she was the right one was because she was willing to let me go through my process. But I think she already knew, like up front, because she could see my flaws very, very clearly. Because when you meet someone like me, all you see is flaws in the beginning, and then there might be like
It's quite obvious.
Yeah, like one or two good
it's super
things.
obvious.
But basically, it's like this guy, his name is flaw, you know, like defect.
I still haven't found any redeeming
I know.
attribute about it.
So by the way, Jenny, we did episodes on strengths and weaknesses, and you know, my segment on strengths lasted about 10 seconds. You know, there was not much.
No, come on.
And then we did like 4 shows.
Let's get
on
back
my,
to this. Come
4
on.
shows on my weaknesses.
Let's go away from the self-pity.
But so I think there's this process piece. One little nuance I wanted to hit on was that, like you were talking about, like, okay, well, you know, women, they're under the marriage pressure, and so, you know, they just make decisions. But think of it this way: if you're under marriage pressure, the stakes are higher, so they have to make quicker decisions. So they actually have to be better. They don't have 6 years. So
That's true.
You took 6 years, but maybe you could have done it in 6 months if you had really had that pressure. Then you could have decided, okay, if she's the one or not the one, right? Because nothing that you learned in those 6 years was really, you didn't need 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, true, but you only know that in hindsight.
Exactly.
Like, because I got lucky with her, right? Like, had it been, let's say, another girl, and, you know, after a few months, I realized, whoa, this girl is like a complete monster, then, you know, we'd be saying a different story. I just got lucky. I happened to get lucky
But
with
the
her.
6 years is very arbitrary. And so people listening to that,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like, wow, why was it 6 years? Why was it whatever, 2 years? But one quick thing is that I want to go back to the way you judge, like look at people, right? And I think there's a lot to learn from it. I think that number one is that how you judge character. So we have limited time on the earth. We have limited energy. And there's a lot of things that we want to do to make the world better, to make our lives better, to make our families better. We don't have time to hang out with people that are not going to be helpful for us. And so the filter that we use to judge character, whether it's our wives, our girl, you know, like you know, our friends, like all this stuff, it should be the same filter, right? It shouldn't be a checklist. It shouldn't be like boom, 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 right? We should be judging people based on their character. So when I kind of reflect on what I was looking at, yeah, like my parents are like, from a very early age, they indoctrinated me about checklists. Why? Because the time they grew up in China, they didn't have time to give you an interview. Like, it was like life or fucking death in wartime fucking Asia. And so it was basically, it's like, okay, who is this person? They had to quickly size them up. So the way my parents, and particularly my mom, sized people up was based on their backgrounds. Like, what school did you went to, blah, 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 blah. And so there is a value for checklists. Doctors use checklists because
It's like a shortcut.
Yes, it's a shortcut.
It's actually human nature.
Yes, it's human nature. And it's like, because when you're on the savannah in Africa 10,000 years ago and your life depended on, is that a tiger? Is that a friend? Or is that something going to eat you? You can't be like, hey, let me spend 6 years finding out if you're a tiger.
It's like, I don't have time to listen to the whole story. Just give me the bullet points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the checklist.
So
the
there's
bullet
value
points.
of checklists, but then on the other hand, checklists can be misused and used in bad ways, right? So for me, it was kind of like, that was a learning process. But if you live your whole life through checklists, you might never find the right person because you eliminate everyone. And so for me, I really agree with you. It's sort of like, you have to look at people's trajectory. And then going back to your question, so I am a little bit like, my whole family, I admit, we're like 势力because we use those checklists, right? Oh, 你不是什么名牌大学, blah, 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 right? That's like,
What is 势力 in English?
it means you're like,
势利眼.
Practical?
no, 势力 means like you look down on people that don't have a certain level of like snobby,
Oh, snobby. Oh, okay.
right? And I realized that, okay, like that's how I am. And you guys know me, you've met my family and stuff like that. We're super snobbish.
They were
and stuff
super
like-
nice to us. So
Yeah,
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah,
but-
well, that's because afterwards they're like, oh, 那个 Justin, 哦，他家庭不错的。哦，那个 Justin,
They had their checklists.
and it's
We
like,
met their
Justin, 然后
checklists.
他自己做一个 studio，他邀请朋友，这个人会做人的。那个 Howie 啊，做导演啊，肯定是有领导能力。
Unknowingly, we fit all their checklists.
Yeah, they met all the checklists. Like, 哦，他们的个子啊也不错啊，那个面相啊、气质啊都不错，这个两个人的家庭还都不错的。So I use those checklists. Go ahead.
That's why I was asking you, like, did you care about the background? Because I think also it's because the parents.
那肯定是父母影响很大的。
Yes. 真的就是很多男生有问过这种问题的，就是他们也会说另外一个女生那个有一个很好的教育啊，然后家庭很好啊，就是会这样说。然后我觉得这个真的是很重要吗？
因为就是我刚才说了嘛，就是很多人会考虑到，就是我们两个有没有匹配，从家庭匹配，因为你比如说你结婚，你肯定不只是我跟你啊，对吗？是我们两个 family 是一起的呀 ，right？
我觉得以后就不会这样了。 新的 generation 就不会，
为什么？
不会，因为父母就是我们这样的人啊。
你真的觉得吗？
I think so.
Yeah, I think it will start changing over time, generation to generation, right?
Yes.
因为比如说我们已经有这样子的想法，那我们下面生小孩子，那我们给他们传下来的想法也会，more along these lines, right?
Yeah, but it needs
Yeah.
time. It still
Yeah,
needs
no, it's
time.
like generation after generation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
time. That's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard to get past your own background, and like I felt like I was a very checklist kind of person, and that's why it took me so long to, find someone. But I think you can't, base all your decisions on checklists. And you also have to look at trajectory. Think about stocks. Do you buy a stock when it's like the highest point it's ever been? No, you buy low, you sell high. And so in a lot of ways, it's like when you look at people, you want to find, because if you want to find like, if you want to find like a billionaire's daughter, if you want to find a billionaire's daughter, I mean, it's like, no, my parents would always say, excuse my 脏话, it's like 撒泡尿照照镜子. That's like, because my parents would be like,
Wow. Oh, your parents would definitely hate me, I think.
No.
Because
Only one way to find out.
I don't know, but I don't know because it's like this. This is the reality. I mean, no matter like how awesome you really are, but if you don't have the background education, just it's pretty hard,
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's what we were saying.
I mean, I don't really care because
Well, what Eric was saying is
But-
true. It's like, you try to spend enough time with a person and interact enough with the person that you can try to get a feel for their trajectory. And whatever their trajectory is, if it's something that, you're looking for and that you kind of want to go along on that same path, then that person's for you. I mean, it's not this preordained perfect list that so many think that there is. Like throw the list out.
And then just to clarify, 撒泡尿照照镜子 means that if you aim too high, because she knows what it means, when you aim too high, you got to take a piss, right? Because that's not going to give you the best reflection of yourself. What 撒泡尿照照镜子 means like, know who the fuck you are, dude.
Yeah.
So you're going high, you're aiming high, take a fucking piss, look at your reflection. What are you? Right?
但是反过来
That's what my parents, but my parents belittled me all the time. So
Yeah, but like I've also heard, maybe you guys
that's
heard
so
in the
harsh,
past.
isn't it? Is that harsh?
That's not harsh. I mean, you're spitting fact, though. I mean, it's true.
No, I mean, were my parents harsh? Yeah, it's like take a piss and be like, what do
Yeah,
you
well,
look like?
we've all known. Anyone that's listened to this podcast for a while knows that your upbringing, your parents were very harsh on you, and you can look at it both ways and see the good and the bad that came from that.
I want to
But
ask
what were you
you.
about to say?
No, it's fine.
Don't pout.
I'm not pouting. I'm saying it's fine. She wants to say something.
Okay.
No, I just want to ask you a question that so what if you fall in love with someone that the type that your parents would definitely not allow you date, but you really, really want to be with her, what would you do?
Okay, that's a great question. So I thought that was a dilemma before. I really thought that was a dilemma. But what I realized was that I love my parents, and
It's okay, they're not gonna listen to this.
no, they do listen to
They
it.
they
Yeah.
listen to every episode.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. No, well, my
Oh,
mom,
that'll turn them around.
no. My mom loves the show. She's really proud of me. She loves my friends, thinks we're doing a great thing. The only criticism, she's like, hey, yeah, your relatives also listen to it, and they noticed that you say the F word a lot. 能不能不要说这么多脏话? That's the only thing my mom says. But I think what I realized over time, and again, it takes time, right? Like 6 years, whatever, 12, 18. But everyone has their sort of process. Is that I realized that they shaped me and who I am. And when I was younger, I really rebelled. I was like, God, you ruined my life. Everything you taught me was wrong. And I all my struggles in life was because you guys didn't raise me correctly. And what I realized is that like, every set of parents, they're just doing the best they can. Like they sacrificed their whole life just to make sure that my brother and I would have the best possible life, but they didn't know everything. They're not psychologists. They're not doctors. They tried their best. They did more good than bad, of course. I think we turned out all okay. And then life is a journey to kind of like figure out yourself a little bit, and you have to do that on your own. But what I realized was they shaped me so significantly that the person that I will end up with, that I am ending up with, is someone I think they would accept, because they shape my values and how I look at the world. And so it's unlikely that I would bring home someone that they wouldn't maybe accept. Now, their acceptance is not the condition of me being with this particular person, but I think they're so influential because my parents were very deep in my psyche, is that like what they wanted, and I think it's the right thing, the right type of person. If I brought home someone that I really truly loved, they would also accept her. And that's what the end result is over a long period of time. So it's not about them accepting or not accepting. It's that they created me. And so in some way that represents their vision. Now, is she perfect? Are there things that they're not happy with? Yeah, of course. Right? I wouldn't want her to be like a perfect representation, because it's also a reflection of my vision of what I want.
Yeah.
Good answer.
I think, I think a lot of the takeaway from this is, at least that I'm getting, is that like, look, whether we're talking about love and life, and you can say that life and love are intertangled, and that's just part of the experience, right?
For Howie.
And lust, of course.
For Howie, especially.
But it's all about trial and error. It's all about experiencing and trial and error. And I would think that even Jenny, you would agree that we probably shouldn't do what you did, which was kind of be single for 7 years because you were too afraid of falling in love or showing yourself or being yourself or getting hurt or whatever it was. I think you would even agree that, you know, girls today or guys today probably shouldn't do that. And it's all about go out there, be bold, experience other things, experience new things, try, fail, get up again, fail again, try again, and keep going. You know what I mean? It's all about trial and error and experiencing things. And through that process itself, you will learn more and more, and that process is the journey. I mean, that's corny and cliche, but
it's true.
It's so true.
It's
so
like
true.
It's like it's this constant learning. It's the same idea with entrepreneurism.
Yeah.
Right? You start a business, you fail. You get up, you learn from why you failed, you continue on, and you fail again. And you continue on until you get more and more successful and hone into that success rate, right? Same thing with the relationships. You failed. Okay, why did they fail? Is it because of you? Is it because of them? You know? Okay, then you start to realize what you really like. You start to realize that maybe things that you need to work on, you know, et cetera, as you get closer and closer and hone in on that person.
Don't be afraid to fail. And I love how we're talking about this now, because it's like we're kind of coming full circle from our like subtle art of not giving a fuck about like the fear of failure, right? And we were talking about that from a life and more so from like a professional angle, career angle, but it applies to love. It applies to relationships. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and fail with a relationship. Like, don't. Like, we should be engaging in more relationships, I feel.
Okay, let's hear it from...
Yeah, I'm okay now, but before I think how do you say yeah, you have to be brave on anything. So now I'm good. Before was, oh my god, it's really terrible. I feel so many times, not just about relationship, everything. In my 20s.
Yeah, but 因为这个 you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I learn from mistakes all the time.
But were you like, did you have this fear? Like you say you were single for 7 years and you said that it was because of a fear. Was it because of the fear of like failing in a relationship or getting heartbroken, or, you know, what was it?
Both of that.
Yeah.
Of course. And you know, because as a woman, if you get older and older, you get harder. The things become more difficult. And that's the reality. I know there's a lady. She's really beautiful, smart. She got a stable job, everything, right? But she's just also like no confidence because the guy she's seeing like with another woman, which it has, you know, maybe more successful. But I mean, come on. Like you guys said, who care about a woman like has a, you know, decent job?
Well, it's just everybody's different. 我们是这样子的,
it's true,
but maybe
it's true.
反过来, some other guy from down the block is not like that.
That's true.
We get into this checklist thing, right? So one guy that Justin, you introduced us to the pod, you know, Dax, the new Joe Rogan. You know, I think he said something on his show, he
He's
said
just a good podcaster. You don't have to say he's the new Joe Rogan. No one ever said he's the new Joe Rogan. They can be two existing
Anyways, it's an
entities
ongoing
at the same time.
it's an ongoing inside joke on this
I'm joking.
podcast, right? Because we're always searching for the next Joe Rogan.
True.
We found him in China, of course, already on Ximalaya. But he said, like, it's not about, finding the best person. That's not ever going to happen. It's about building the best relationship. And I think it's so true because we think of it as like an endpoint, like, okay, you go find someone and that's it, right? But it's actually the interaction you have. The actual relationship is not the person, like what you see on their resume. It's actually like what you've done together.
It's like a constant evolution.
The resume eventually, the Harvard, the whatever, that's going to get old. But what you did with this person last week is actually going to make you happy. And so it's about building that relationship and learning from one another, et cetera, right? But, kind of going back to your situation, first of all, we're absolutely ecstatic that you found someone, because when I was listening to the podcast and I was like, oh no, how could you? No, right? But but 7年了, and then it's like and like I talked to Howie and like, oh, you're such a cool person, so smart, and I saw the photos and I'm like, oh,
It's
so
only
beautiful,
because
so beautiful. I'm like, wow, how could she? But
Thank
my
you.
question is like, not to be specific with your relationship with this amazing Chef G, but just in general, like after going through everything, like what are your expectations for relationships now? Like, what do you expect?
You mean for now?
Yeah.
In general.
Oh wow, it's really difficult. Actually, I'm pretty happy for everything now. I don't really want more. I don't feel I want more.
That
Actually,
Really gotta go there?
yeah,
No,
come
but
on.
is that the natural next step? Is that something you're thinking about? Is that something you're kind of wanting?
I put so much care in positioning the question in a very soft way, and then you're just like, fucking, it's like, no.
Hey.
Hammer that shit.
First, we just together for like 10 months, right? And I was kind of like you, because I want to spend more time, more years to know a person.
Yeah.
Because it's just like this. I think it's better. And then I think a marriage is never, for me, it's never that important for me, the marriage. Because I think if people that he really love me and we can just be together forever without the paper. Because I know actually there's a couple, they're together for like more than 20 years together. They never get married, but they are together every day. Yeah, it's like this. So I don't, for marriage, for me, a wedding, those fancy wedding, for me, I never really cares. I just care about, if he's truly love me or he's loyal. But I really want to adopt a children.
Oh, you want to
A
adopt?
child, yeah.
Good for
I
you.
really want to.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Why adoption versus
great.
maybe having your own?
Because I don't want to change my body.
Oh, okay. So here I thought you were being like noble for like your just reasons.
So
You're like, I just want to change my body. I want to keep a good figure.
No, I'm
but
kidding
still,
now.
it doesn't. Whatever your reasons are, adopting is a great thing to do.
No, it's also actually because I think the world is already so crowded and
Yeah.
and
There's so many kids that need to be adopted.
Next time someone asks you that, start with the second answer.
come on, I'm
it's the honest drink. Come on,
Yacho
it's the honest drink. It's the
yeah, it's
honest
true,
drink.
but also because the body 啦。但是呢，更多是因为我觉得世界真的已经很挤了。
对啊。
然后我觉得everybody suffering so much.
Oh my god,
I
this
feel
is
like it's a jail on earth.
That's great.
Did you change the way you think? Because like I don't know, like 我以前20多岁的时候，我觉得我肯定要生自己小孩子。But like 就是现在的情况来说，我觉得的确是 the world is way overpopulated. You don't know what the future is going to bring. It's not exactly the most stable like world or society that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
So what does it mean? Right? 就是而且再加上刚才说了嘛，there's a lot of kids out there that don't have families.
Yes.
You know? 所以
很可怜啊
其实这种想法，我觉得，因为我朋友里面在美国，很多朋友也是这样想的。
对啊。
但是中国，我比较难
I'd be very curious to see what the adoption rate in China is.
比较少见的，真的是比较少。
Because that feels like a cultural thing. Like, do
This
people
I can,
adopt here?
if you want, I can ask for you too, because I know some people from the church.
Yeah, I'd be very
have-
curious about that.
I know there's a person. She adopt like five children, and she also have another 5 children by her own. Like they really have 10 children. And I talked to this woman many years ago, and I was like, wow, this kind of my dream life. But that was too much. 10 kids for me is too much.
Super noble. I mean, one friend, so I won't mention the name just, for confidentiality, but you guys would know this friend, tell you after the show, was one of 7 or 8 adopted into a household in the US from Southeast Asia. This friend is, an awesome person, like one of the coolest people you can meet. It's true, right? Like, you're taking someone from unfortunate circumstances, and then you're applying the benefits that you've had from your upbringing. We obviously are in the top 1% or whatever of the world in terms of the benefits and, the circumstances we've had. And then you take someone that doesn't have that same privilege, and then you're helping that person. It's difficult because you always want to have your own DNA and all this stuff, and there's all this legacy stuff. But if you really want to make an impact on the world, I haven't really thought about this before. Like, this is really the first time I've thought about this, is that you take someone who's not in the best circumstances, who might have a shit life because they don't have their parents and all this stuff. Who knows what would happen? There's a lot of bad stuff in the world, we all know. And then you say, you know what? I'm going to do my best to give this person a better opportunity, better than at least financially what they would have experienced. That's noble, I think.
Of course.
Okay, I think also because my childhood, and I think I haven't learned a lot from my parents because I was in boarding school when I was 2 years old. I told you last time. So 2 years old, I was in a boarding school. So that's why I feel like I want to be a better parent. My parents are awesome, but I think I could do a really good job to teach kids, and I definitely have able to make them happy person. And I think it's also you save a soul, and it's amazing thing to do in my
但是
life.
要不然传统来说，你 save a soul， 你管那么多干嘛呀？又不是自己人。
不是这样讲
all
嘛
connected.
Come on.
I'm just saying 传统来说啊 I'm just saying 传统
We're
来说
all connected. Everything that we do
No.
impacts everyone else.
Because my stepfather, my stepfather raised me when I was 2 years old, and he don't have any children because of me. So for me, blood is nothing, and DNA is nothing. That's why for me, if I have my own children, it's not important.
Blood is nothing, DNA is nothing, but love
For
is.
me.
But love is.
Love is, yeah.
Yeah.
Love is.
That's so true. Cheers. That's
Cheers to
great.
that.
Wow.
Cheers to that.
Shit.
Love that.
That's a great
love.
one.
Love
That's a great ending right
transcends
there.
all, right?
哎，我很想问一个问题，
你问
我真的不好意思，我今天一直在打嗝，我觉得我声音好，我打嗝声音有被录
没有，
进去吗？
我根本都没听到。
OK 啊。
哦，可以删掉我们这
你
段。
不提
OK，真的
到，
OK 啊。
我根本就没注意到。
你现在告诉大家，他都知道了。
It's okay，
其实都不知道的。
我故意 creepy 一下的。
没有没有，
Anyway, love transcends all.
谢谢。
That was beautiful. Jenny, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me here.
You are so real as a person.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you.
we're so analytical and we think these things, but you're real. It's just like, okay, like this is it. This is real.
I think we could do better.
No, wait, what does that mean? Oh, you mean this podcast or you mean like your relationship?
No, I mean everything. I think we could be more real, more honest, more open to ourselves. I think actually today we talk a lot and everything was good. I think we have a lot of more thoughts like
course.
stuck inside us that we didn't share.
That's why we'll have you back and we'll
you.
talk more.
Part 3.
And that is also why this podcast is called The Honest Drink.
Yes.
It's precisely what you just said. Like, we all need to be more honest. Like, even just with ourselves, we need to be more honest, right? Like, we need to be more honest with what we're thinking, how we're feeling, and how we're being affected, and how we're affecting other people. That's plain and simple.
Yeah.
And the world we live in, we need to be more honest about it.
Yep.
And talk it out. Don't be afraid to feel. Don't be afraid to experience. Don't be afraid to say. And don't be afraid to love.
Yes.
Have you ever watched Friends or The Simpsons? Friends, the
Friends,
show.
of course.
There were 10 seasons of Friends.
I
And the-
watch all of them.
And there were 236 episodes. So we look forward to 234 more.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering where you're going.
Yeah, I
with
know.
the
That's
friends
kind
thing.
of like a curveball right there. It's like,
Okay.
How about-
Anyway,
lots to talk about.
Jenny, one more time. Let's cheers.
Thanks
Thanks for coming back. All right. All right, guys.
Ooh, that was good.
That was Jenny. I'm Justin.
and I'm Howie.
I'm Eric.
Love you guys. Peace. Be good.
Bye-bye.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
That way.
That way.
这位。
The rising sun will see.